They are contributing every month.
Good morning to you all. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. And how about this? That the PowerPoint is shared with you? Okay, fine. So then we'll start. Today our topic is monetary system of Sri Lanka before 1950 and after 1950. That means we can say pre and post independent periods, how the monetary system spread within Sri Lanka. So we are going to have an idea what sort of currency that we have utilized at that time, how the money printing take place, and all these things we are going to discuss under this topic. Okay, so let's start. So it's obvious that means everyone knows how the initial the currency dispersion will happen. So then we'll have a story on how it goes. Sri Lankan currency history. In the past, Sri Lanka was famous worldwide because it was uniquely placed at the center of Silk Road, which spanned from Far Eastern Asia to Europe. So then we know that since Sri Lanka was placed nicely, it became a trading. So then, as of this reason, most of the traders visit Sri Lanka. Traders from East and West converged, and Sri Lanka function as trading center for these travelers, mostly Greek, Roman, and Chinese. So then Greek, Roman, and Chinese, mostly they visited Sri Lanka while they pass our country when they going for trading activities. The island also had an efficient trading system in place. So then they are saying in history, they are saying we had an efficient trading system. Next, in history, very little was said about the extent of currency which was used to exchange goods and services. A barter system was placed in those areas. So then initial stage, we know before the currency came to transaction, so the barter system, more everybody know about this one. The barter means the transaction on goods to goods, or sometimes goods to service. So this sort of transaction took place at the initial level. As such, coin made of gold, silver, copper, and other metals were in circulation. So later on, the money came for a picture. So then it didn't came straight away, like we know that once we see the today note, currency note. So now it has all the features, but it didn't develop to that stage suddenly. A lot of that means initial contribution will happen. So then later on, it was developed to this sort of situation. So initially, the coins were, they're saying, made out of gold, silver, and copper, also some other metals as well. The first non-Sri Lankan coins was called idling. So then first Sri Lankan coin, they will name as idlings. So we are going to see how it was happen. So one by one. Further, there was Sanskrit character on the coins with the name of kings at that time. So then some sort of engrave, some sort of characters were there. So then in the flip side, the other side, sometime king's name were there. These coins were there during King Parakram I and Guanaka I. So then during the king's era also, this type of coins they have identified. Fish hook coins originating in Persian Gulf region were available in the 17th century. So then in initial stage, they are saying the fish hook coins, that means they use as a fish hook as a coin. So this sort of medium of transaction also, they are around in 17th century. So once we evaluate how the Sri Lankan currency dispersion happened, to have an idea, we are dividing into few eras, like Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Kandy, and then we are going to identify how the colonial period, and then post-independent period as well. So we are going to see how the currency dispersion happened in this time. So once you take the first point, the Anuradhapura era, or sometimes we name this as ancient period. So it was, this time was taken from 377 BC to 1017 AD. So then to have an idea what is the AD and the BC, so I have given a small clarification. AD means Anno Domini, is the Latin word for in the year of Lord, and the BC is before Christ. So then I have given a small clarification, so you can go through that and have an idea. So then once we again talk about the Anuradhapura era, so then in the Anuradhapura time, the Anuradhapura kingdom was the first to be established in kingdom and was founded in by King Parakrambahu in 377 BC. So then King Parakrambahu was the king and he is the founder of this kingdom. The first records suggest that coins were produced and distributed systematically during this time. So then they have identified the distribution of coins, that means distribution of currency, but took place at that time in systematically in a proper order. In this time, the person in charge of coin production was known as Rupakada. The official who was authorized to produce coin was known as Rupa. So then this sort of name that they have utilized in those times. And the person who in charge this production and person officials who were authorized on this sort of currency production, they claim because they are these names that belongs to them at that time, like Rupakada and Rupavara, like that. So then we are going to see type of coin used in Anuradhapura kingdom. Kahapana, these are the names that they are given. Swastika coin, Maniless lion coin, Lakshmi pledge, Kahavanu or Lankeshwara coins and foreign coins. So then we'll see one by one slowly and we'll try to have an idea on these things. The Kahapana, so this is the shape of that coin at that time. The earliest unit of currency is referred to as Kahapana and called Puranas in Sanskrit and Edlings in English. So then in Sanskrit, they have mentioned Puranas, and then in English, they name this as Edlings. The known coins have been of many shapes, such as round, square, rectangular, like that. So then, since initially they didn't have a proper idea how to this coin need to be have even round or square or whatever. So then they are in the process of doing that. So then, as of that reason, they didn't have a proper idea. So then it took various type of shapes at the initial stage. The metal of the Kahapana has been found to be mostly in silver. So then they use silver to print this sort of coin. The Kahapana had been in use in Sri Lanka from 3rd century BC to 1st century AD. So then once you see where we can find this sort of coin, this type of coin has been found in many places, including Anuradhapura, Toluvila, Vessagiriya, Sigiriya, Unnapola, Dambadeniya. So then once you see the Jaffna, Mulathivu, Trincomalee. So then once you see of these names, the idea what we can take, this transaction or this trading didn't took only within this Anuradhapura era or in the Anuradhapura area. So it has dispersed to north side as well as down south as well. So then we are going to see the swastika coin. This is the shape of the swastika coin. And see once it is bow tree and swastika coins. So then this bow tree and this elephant, like that's the way that they have engraved all these things. The swastika coin has a small copper coin, so then it's made out of copper. One side of this coin, there is image of walking tusker, a super drawing using a 3/2 moon and a bow tree with 3 branches inscribed in a sky. So then various like bow trees, moon, that is elephant tusker, like that way. They use various some sort of, that means in various way they have engraved these coins. So now they want the shape of this coin is quite like a square and made out of copper. So then the moneyless coin. So once you see the shape also being now not like the earlier, some oval, that means exact, that means oval shape as like a circle. And now they have a little bit of increment. We can see this is a copper coin. In one side there is an image of lion, and on the other side, and there is a 4 dots. So then you can see the 4 dots. It is likely that these dots indicate the value of the coin. So then they're saying the dots indicate the value of the coin. The diameter of the coin is between 0.5 to 3 or 4 inches, and its weight is between 15 and 40 grams. So then this is the grain, means there's some sort of weight measurement that they have used, like gram, kilogram, like that. These coins were found from 3 to 4 AD. So then we are coming to the Lakshmi pledge. So coins with the female figure carved in a face were the first circular in Sri Lanka as early as 3 BC to 8 AD. It is believed that the woman on the coin is goddess of Lakshmi. Because of this, the coin is known as Lakshmi Tadu or metal chip. Like that, that's why they have named this thing. They also came out in different size. The plate was 1/4 inches and length is 1/2 inches in width. So then this is a way they mint or produce the Lakshmi pledge. The coins are a mixture of approximately 60% of lead and 15% of copper. So then they try to mixture these metals. So they use lead and copper for that. The Lakshmi coin have been found in place in Anuradhapura, Jaffna, Pallipuram, Tirukeshwaram, like the Mana, Mulathiru, Chila, Tisama. So further we can see this, that means the trading took place using this currency or coins, not within the Anuradhapura, it has gone to Jaffna, Tisama, down south, and all the other areas as well. Then Kahavanu or Lankeshwara coin. So then we are familiar about this name since most of the tragedy drama or the films was we have heard this name. So then this is the way that they have print or mint the Kahavanu. In Sinhalese gold coinage known as Kahavan, so this is made out of gold, sometime gold plated, had been in the circulation from the 7th to 8th centuries AD. These coins were either gold or gold plated. They were distinguishable in terms of value as Kahavanu, Ada Kahavanu, Di Aka, and Aka. So the way they have distinguished in various ways. Sometimes that means the value they have differentiate, like Kahavanu, Ada Kahavanu, Di Aka, like that is then now that they are going to differentiate, that means value according to the value. So then this sort of differentiation also they have introduced at that time. On the face of the coin, there is a human figure standing on the lotus stem. So then human figure standing on the lotus stem, then this sort of way, this way they have printed the Kahavanu at that time. So then foreign coins during Anuradhapura. So in that, in the Greek coins. So these coins prove that Sri Lanka had a naval base during the Anuradhapura year. A great number of Greek, Roman, Chinese, Arabic, and Indian coins are used in international trade. These coins are found in Anuradhapura, Mihitari, Sigiriya, Kurunegala, Matara, Akurugoda, and Badula. So then this is another point that we can identify. That means the foreign trade, that means that foreign traders also has traveled within the country, not even Anuradhapura, throughout all the other areas, since we could be able to find this sort of coins in these places. So then Roman coins. So these are the two types of Roman coins at the time. The copper Roman coins were used in Sri Lanka, and these coins were minted in Rome. The majority of these coins belongs to 4th to 5th century AD. This is proof that trading occurred between Romans and Sri Lanka. So then we found the Roman coins as such. So then this is also an indicator. Sri Lanka make a trading with Romans as such. So then Chinese. So this is the way the Chinese coins we could find. These coins are made out of copper or copper-rich alloy. The coins are circular and shaped with a square hole in the center. So then circular type of shape, and the square in the middle. The Chinese emperor's name is engraved, but there is no mark or image on the flip side of the flip side of the coin. So then, in this side, the emperor's name they have engraved, and the other side, nothing is blank. So then, Arabic coins, these coins are minted using materials like copper and silver. On the face, there is devotional praises in Arabic. The year of the issue is mentioned on the flip side. So then, in one side, the devotional praises, and the other side, the year it was printed was mentioned when you see the Arabic coins. Fine, now we are coming to the Anuradhapura kingdom. So sometimes we name this as medieval period. So then we can see the kingdoms at that time. Tambadini, Yapava, Kurunagala, Kampala, and Kotte. So then in this time issued Kahavanu, similar to the Kahavanu that was minted in the last half of the Anuradhapura era and was made of copper. So then in this time, in the Polonnaruwa kingdom also, they are saying they could be able to find a Kahavanu, but which is quite similar to the Anuradhapura era, but the difference is in Polonnaruwa kingdom it was made out of copper, but in the Anuradhapura they are saying it is made out of gold or gold plated. Coins used in the Polonnaruwa to Kotte era, Massa, Dambadeni, Lions, and C2. So these are the coins that they have used at that time. The name of the coins are Radhajiraja, Nissankamala, Raja, like that. It's various names. So that means we can see Leelavati, Vijayabahuan, Sasamala, like that way, Dharmashoka, like that way. They have given the various names. Sometimes some famous people or king or like that way. They name these coins. So then we have a little bit idea of Massa coin. King Vijayabahu I ruled in Polonnaruwa kingdom and was the first Sinhalese coin to have had his name engraved on the coins, and that was issued during the history. And this coin was named as Massa. So then we can see the king's name engraved in the foreign coins, but in Sinhalese coins, so we can see the minting of king's name was started with Massa coins. The practice of engraving the name of king on coin continued from the beginning of the Polonnaruwa era until the end of the Dambadeni era. So then the printing or minting the king's name, they're saying it was started from this level. Now we are coming to the Kandian Kingdom or Kandy Kingdom. So Kandy was the last capital of the Sinhala monarchy. According to the historical text, a few different types of currency were in use during the heyday of the Hill Country Kingdom, also known as Sinhala. The type of coins used in Kandy era, Agutumasa, Kokulu coin, Koku coins, or Larin, Dambadini Kasi. So then Kasi also sometimes we use then Salli, Indian Paragam, Tuttu, so then Panama, Tangam, like that. I think this name also time we use in present days as well. The Panama, Tuttu, Salli, Kasi, these things also sometimes we tend to use in present days as well. So then we are going to see the colonial period. Even though we divide Sri Lanka has passed into each era such as Anuradhapura, Porunnaru and Kandy. In all these eras, the entirety of Sri Lanka was never governed by one king. So that means the idea here, there is a king for each and every places like Anuradhapura, Porunnaru and Kandy. But they're saying until this time, there wasn't one king to rule entire country. They were able to make profit through international trade via the silk. So that means Sri Lanka could be able to make profit through international trade at that time. Sri Lanka was colonized by Portuguese, Dutch, and English, respectively. So then we know that Sri Lanka was colonized by 3 foreign entities. So then we see how the Portuguese was then during that time how the currency dispersion will happen. So during the Portuguese period, currency was widely used. So mostly they are saying it was used in gold. Portuguese introduced their own currency and various other European coins to Sri Lanka. So then they used their own currency. Apart from that, they introduced various European coins to Sri Lanka as well. So coins were used on Portuguese period. Same type coin, Tanga, Malacca, which was made out of silver, and this same type of coin made out of gold and silver, or gold or silver. Cruzado, a Guinea masa made out of silver, and Kakram. So these are the names that they have given, and the pronunciation also quite differ one to one. So this is the way that they have named these things. So then next we are coming to the next colonial period time. It was Dutch. In 1638, the Dutch acquired the Portuguese fort, and the Dutch made the treaty between King Rajasingha II. So section 14 of the treaty contains the massive number of rules regarding the use of currency. So then in that time also, so they came across, they're saying they came across how to use the currency was one prominent identification. So they focus on how to the currency circulation need to be happen. Also they keep the high attention on this matter. So then once you see the coins used in Dutch period, risk dollar, Duits, Zealandia, Hollandia, Utrecht, West Friesland, Guilderland, Stewart. So then, as I said, so the way the pronunciation was quite different, but we'll try to understand this. The coins that were most commonly used in transaction during this period were the duit and the very small copper coin. So then they are saying the most famous coin is duit at that time, and it was a very small copper coin. The reason the inconvenience of transaction in 1737, a number of duits were joined together to form a string or chain to do it. So then to reduce the inconvenience of transaction, they introduced various type of duits like 8, 16 or 24 duits. Apart from that, they introduced 2, 4 and 6 to respectively. So then the reason of introduce various values to make the convenience transaction. So if you have the various values, so then it is easy. So we know that when it is easy for transaction, we also have various coins as well as notes. So if there is a range of coin, so it is easy to do transaction. So then these are the type of duits. So then we'll come to this pataga later. So then furthermore we'll have an idea or see how the duits coins were there at that time. So then we can see the year that they have print, the logo, religious logo. So the VOC, this type of thing. Also, you can see their logo. In the 18th century, the Dutch began to mint their Tuttu coins in Sri Lanka. So in 18th century, they start to print the Tuttu coins in Sri Lanka. In 1781, the Dutch established the first mint factory, which was located near Cayman Gate in Colombo. So then in Colombo, near Cayman Gate, they established a mint factory, that means coin mint factory. The Dutch also introduced a silver 1 rupee coins to Sri Lanka, which was minted in 1781 and 1786. It's easy to 1786. No, it is not. So then another Dutch coin that was being used in Sri Lanka is the risk dollar. The risk dollar was the type of silver coin. So in Sinhalese, these were called as pataga. So then in Sinhalese, we call this as a pataga for this risk dollar. So then we'll come to this further, having a little more idea. So in here, they are talking about coin. This dollar was a type of silver coin. And in Sinhalese, we call this pataga. In here, we have a pataga note. So then we'll come to that a little later. The first banknote. On 19 March 1785, the Dutch was authorized to print banknotes with the total total value equivalent to 25,000 pataga. So then the Dutch authorized to print banknote. Now the banknote is coming to picture. Earlier we could be able to identify only the coins. Now the note also coming, currency. So the note with a total value equal to 25,000 pataga. Sri Lanka's first series of banknotes were issued in May 10, 1785 and was known as credit driven or cast note. So then this series they known as credit driven or cast note. The first note had value equal to 50, 100, 500 and 1000 pataga. Afterwards, notes were printed like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Pataga also printed. These notes contain a signature of 3 government officials. So then, if we summarize a little bit, so then in 1785, the Dutch authorized to print 25,000 pataga. The value equal to 25,000 pataga. So then, the initial note came as 50, 100, 500 and 1,000. So later on, to make the transaction much convenience, a little bit of lower value currency, that means note also, they have introduced like 1 to 4, that means 1 to 5 and then 10. So then this is that pataga. You can see 3 signatures of officials, 1, 2, 3. See 3 signatures. This is 1. So then they see pataga, like that. Single is also they are written. Yes. Now we are going to the third colonial period. We know it is British. Coin used in British period. Is it okay? Are you with me? Any disturbance or?
No. Clear, very clear today.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll continue. So then once you talk about the British period, coins used in British period. So then these are the name of the coins at that time. Taraka Pagodi, Fanams, Risk dollar, silver coins, and rupee. This rupee is not Sri Lanka rupee. That from here words we use then rupee. So until we get the independence, so then it is not Sri Lanka rupees. We talk about the Indian. So then do it. Fine. There are 2 types of coins the British used to transaction in Sri Lanka. The first was gold coin minted in Madras, known as Taraka Pagodi or Star Pagodi. The Pagodi was the equivalent of 45 Anam or 180 Tuk. So then they have given some sort of equivalence also. So then to make this to equal 1 Taraka Pagodi, they say 45 Anam and 180 Tuk. So that means previous currency they have given for this one equal. So then this is also for easy transaction. The second type of coin was a copper one. They were minted in England in 1794 and 1797. It was equivalent to 1096 and 1048 of rupee. About 1800 AD, the British withdrawn the Dutch paper notes and issued British risk dollar. So then they withdrew and they introduced, that means British introduced British risk dollar. The currency arrangement were required for plantation. So then they identified the currency arrangement common for plantation. This is the main reason was they brought the South Indian workers for especially the tea plantation. We'll see. Between 1760 to 1820, the British issued British risk dollar in silver and copper. Until 1840, the elephant was one side and the word Ceylon government on the reverse. So then in one side, they say in elephant was there, and the other side they have name as Ceylon government. During British time, all direction with regards to monetary management were taken by the colonial office in London. So then, how to print this volume and the way the currency, everything, all the decision was taken by the colonial office in London at that time. At the same time, Indian currency became more important with the arrival of Indian labor. So as we discussed, so the Indian labor came to help the that means tea plantation. So because of that reason, requirement of Indian rupee took place. In 1844, the government passed a law permitting commercial bank to issue notes. It was required to keep reserves equal 1/3 of the circulation. So later on, what happened in 1844? So then the government has given authority to print note to bank. So as usual, so that means they need to keep around 1/3 of reserves with them. So that means simply if there is 100, out of that 133.33% they need to keep with them as a reserves. Simple, quite like to SRR. The power of note issue was given to Orient Bank Corporation. So then they have given the authority to print issue. That means print note. Each one is Orient Bank Corporation. So then the Orient Bank Corporation was authorized to that means issue notes or print note. In 1847, the Secretary of State appointed a committee to review the financial condition of the country. The committee recommended establishing an Indian currency in place of British currency. So then they are saying the requirement of Indian currency also need to be had. The Colonial Secretary in 1869 declared both Indian rupee and sterling legal tender in the colony. So then they said that both currency need to be held. In 1st January 1872, accounts of the colony were kept in rupees. Minted copper coins of 50 cents, 1 cents, half cents, and quarter cents. So then account at that time in 1872, account of the colony kept on rupees, they say Indian rupees. And they minted 50 cents, 1 cent, half cent, and quarter cents as well. In 1892, silver coins in the denomination of 50 cents, 10 cents, 25 cents added. So then various values, then they keep adding. In the mid of 19th century, currency circulation consisted of Indian rupees issued by government and sterling currency issued by domestic bank. So then they're saying Indian rupee issued by the government and the sterling currency issued by the domestic bank at that time. Orient Bank Corporation and the Merchant Bank were only chartered banks enjoying the privilege of note issuing till 1884. Then this that means simply the commercial bank has authority to print money till 1884. So then this decision was withdrawn after 1984 with the collapse of Orient Bank Corporation. After March 1885, the power of chartered banks to issue notes was withdrawn with the failure of the Orient Bank Corporation. So then they started a currency board. So then you'll see on that. The currency board system had been functioning in Sri Lanka since enactment of paper currency ordinance of ordinance number 32 of 1884. So then later on what happened? So all the currency issuer decision is taken by this currency board system, and issuing currency also decision taken by them. So we'll see the history of currency system during the pre-independent period. So then for further analysis, we are going to see how the currency system were dispersion during pre-independence period. Sometimes I'm repeating the same thing, but this because of for clear understanding, and so then you want to and the direction also a bit clear. So that was my idea. So during the British period, notes were issued by three authorities. Note issued by General Treasury, 1827 to 1885. So then pound notes, £1 to 5. And this is the one that we have discussed until up to this private bank. So then 1844 to 1884. Orient Bank, Chartered Mercantile Bank of India, London and China, Hong Kong, HSBC, Asiatic Banking Corporation. So then at that time they use pound notes, rupee notes, as we discussed. So now we know in 1884 the Orient Bank Corporation collapsed. So then with that, so the currency board system came into the picture. Currency issued by the Board of Commissioners of Currency and the government of Sri Lanka from 1884 to 1950. So they operate until up to 1950. So then this Board of Commissioners were the Treasurer, Colonel Secretary, and AG, Auditor General. So then these are the three officials in this board. Right. So then we are going to see emergence of banking system. Before 1825, there were no banks in Sri Lanka. Even though there was no banks, money lending took place in an informal manner. So then in an informal manner means it's quite like unorganized manner. That means unorganized lending, simply we can say asking for interest or borrowing take place with friends, relatives, some landlord, or the place we are generally do the transaction, or the boutique, whatever the place. So then buying this is in and that means borrowing happen with these entities, having a proper document in over the borrowing took place on verbal contract. So this sort of borrowing generally we name as informal borrowing. So we have a separate topic. So we are going to discuss in detail how the unorganized or informal borrowing is happening. So until that, we have a little bit of idea and how this borrowing happens. So then even the bank was not in the picture, but the transaction, the lending transaction took place even those time, I said. In 1825, the first banknote to be set was private institution established by Javanos Paris and Louis Peris in Kandy. It was called the Bank of Kandy. So then in 1825, the Bank of Kandy was established with the Javanos Paris and Louis Peris contribution. The main role of this bank was to keep money in custody until they were called to Colombo. So then not like today's. In those days, no much customers, less transaction, less product. So as of that reason, the limited activities happen. So then only they're saying they kept money in their custody until they called to Colombo. The Bank of Kandy operated till 1830. Outside money transfers were done by the way of sterling draft through Chettiar. So that means outside, that means some international trading were happening through the sterling draft through Chettiars. So we are going to see who's the Chettiars. So they are saying simply we have an idea that means they are the Indian community middle traders. So then they do some sort of intermediate transaction. So we'll have a little bit of the idea later about Chettiars. So then the first Bank of Ceylon. The first Bank of Ceylon was established in 1841. So this is not the present Bank of Ceylon. This bank opened a branch in Kandy in 1843. During this period, coffee growers required the service of bank. So then they in 1843 they opened a Bank of Ceylon in Kandy, and then this bank mostly helped for coffee growers. But anyway, in this time we know as of the coffee bleed, that means some fungus they came to the coffee leaves. So then the coffee production was that means destroyed. So we call it a coffee crisis. So as of this reason, as of this crisis, or coffee bleed crisis, and it was drastically hit to the plantation. So then the institution who linked to this to planters to grow coffee, so they also suffered because of this coffee bleed or the coffee crisis or coffee leaf crisis. However, due to the problem in plantation activities, the bank suffered. In 1860, the coffee plantation was shrunk by coffee bleed. Then we are going to have an idea on how overseas banks. In 1843, the Bank of Western India commenced its business in Sri Lanka. In 1845, the name was changed to Orient Bank. So then here they are discussing how the dispersion of this bank. And in 1851, the Orient Bank took over the business of the Bank of Ceylon and merged with Orient Bank Corporation. Anyway, in 1853, the coffee crisis heavily affected finances. So then this overseas bank also affected with the coffee crisis, not even a domestic. In 1844, Asiatic Bank Corporation was started in Sri Lanka, and several other banks expanded their branch network. In this time, the principal function of bank was to meet the need of plantation economy. So then they help to facilitate to plantation economy. In early 1854, branches of Mercantile Bank of India, London, and China was opened. Orient Bank Corporation and Mercantile Bank were privileged to issue notes till 1884. So this point we have discussed, but anyway, I have entered here also to make the sequence to make the order. These two banks referred to as Bank of Exchange. So the main features of Exchange Bank at that time, but branches were restricted to major towns. All these banks accepted deposits. Investment in government securities were made. Lend working capital to plantation sector, financed by export trade, open LCs, letter of credits, issue drafts to overseas banks, advance were given to Chettiars. So then these are the activities that at that time bank were operated. So simply that means the branch network to regional level only it was restricted to town. And they also accepted deposits and lending to plantation sector, investment in government securities, and finance for that means export trading, and they facilitate on opening LCs and draft given to overseas bank. And normally they have given advance to Chettiars. We'll come see now at Chettiars. Sorry, something. Sorry for that. Something happened. Fine. So then you have a look on that. Is the way for your PowerPoint presentation as well, or it is only for my one? This, I think some. How about your PowerPoint presentation? Is it okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear.
Yeah. How about your PowerPoint presentation? This slide 53, is it okay or is it?
Not in the slide. It's on the slide mode, not on the presentation mode. But we can see the slide number 53.
Yeah. No. That something has written on that. Anyway, when I emailed it to you, it was nice. No, I will send through the PDF form, and there won't be any issue if I'm correct. Anyway, fine. So then, if I have a little bit of idea on the Chettiars, normally this is called the name as Natukote Chettiars. So they are the people of Indian origin, followers of Hindu religion. So they belong to very prolific business community who in old days moves out of India to foreign lands like Burma, Ceylon, Java, Sumatra, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, and spread their culture in these lands. So then this community, so especially they engage on lending. They make a intermediate role. So then they facilitate on lending activities, and normally what they do, so they borrowed at a low rate from financial institution, and then they then they, in other hand, they lend loan to some other communities who doesn't have some assets or any other things that they could be able to make do a mortgage. So then for these communities or these sectors, they lend loan. So simply they work as a financial intermediator. So then they borrow from the banks at a lower rate, and then they lend to other communities who couldn't afford to the bank at a higher rate. So then they kept around 4 to 5 interest rate margin, and that margin they make profit and they enjoy the margin of interest. So then about foreign banks, between 1884 to 1934, several British and Indian banks emerged. And in 1832, the Chartered Bank of India, China, Hong Kong, that means HSBC Banking Corporation, were established. In 1893, the Chartered Mercantile Bank of India, London, and China merged to Mercantile Bank of India. In 1970, the Bank of Colombo, and in 1920, Eastern Bank Limited were established. So then the simple description on how the foreign bank dispersion were happen at that time. And in 1920, PO Banking Corporation was established. That means PO Banking Corporation means Peninsula and Orient Stream Navigation Company. In 1927, the PO Banking Corporation merged with the Chartered Bank of India, Australia, and China. So later named as started Chartered Bank. So then local banks, August 1832, Ceylon Saving Bank. May 1885, the Post Office Saving Bank. In October 1945, National Saving Movement. So then all these entities in 1972 join and amalgamate to National Saving Bank. So then these three banks amalgamate to National Saving Bank in 1972. So then Ceylon Banking Commission, introduced by chairmanship of Sri Saboji. So then he's the MD of Bank of India. So then with this Ceylon Banking Commission, what they did to the community, so then they make credit facility to agriculture, industry, and trade sector. So make recommendation on establishing a state aid banks and sound local banks, so quite like a supervision. The report listed the principal credit agencies in country in following manner: commercial bank, lending agencies against immovable properties, chettiars, minor credit agencies, cooperative credit society. So then they are the one who listed the credit agencies. So these are the listed credit agencies by the Banking Commission at that time. The mid 1930s, there were 6 exchange banks in Colombo. Total deposits belongs to rupees 172 million, which was 35% of belongs to Sri Lanka. Interest rate paid around 2.5% to 3%. Exchange Bank extended credit to chettiars and carried out business as a member of Natukotile Chettiars Association. There was 556 chettiars doing business in 1930s, and 180 were in Colombo. So that means most of them were
in Colombo, but not even then. Another idea what we can another idea that we can get is the majority of they belongs to Colombo. Apart from that, they are dispersed to other regions as well. So that means their lending channel was distributed among the country. The lending rate of interest-rate tiers was 13.5%, and they borrowed from bank at 9%. So as we discussed previously, so they lend at higher rate, and anyway they borrowed at low rate. So then the interest margin is a profit for them. They enjoy this margin. Foreign bank channel money to tiers to zero. So then, so they borrowed money from banks, and then they lend to other parties. So with having that means they took the risk. See, in other we can say this is the risk part of them. So they took the risk of lending, and they lend. Anyway, they enjoy the this interest margin as a profit. Yeah. So then in 1935, the bank were recommended to lend credit to industries and agriculture enterprises. The Bank of Ceylon was set up in 1939. So this is the present Bank of Ceylon. Under the BOC ordinance in 1938, at the city office premises located in Fort Colombo, the BOC as a domestic bank began to grow despite several competition from exchange bank and informal money lenders. So then they are saying they had some sort of competition with in other we can say they had to compete with exchange bank, also informal lenders, and they have opened their first branch in Kandy in 1941. There are also a Colombo Brokers Association, State Mortgage Bank, Investment Bank, and Agriculture and Industrial Credit Corporation. So then these sort of entities also at that time was there. So now we are going to discuss the currency system during post-independent period. So after the independence, now we are going to see how the currency distribution will happen within Sri Lanka and how and in which way it was happen. We know the central bank established in 1950 with the Monetary Law Act of 1949. So then with the Monetary Law Act, central bank is empowered to issue currency, including both notes and coins. So then with the establishment of monetary board, so they apart from all the other matters, so they are authorized to issue currency. That means even a note or coin. Coin issued by central bank, the note issued by the British were used Ceylon up to 1951, and coins were used until up to 1969. That means note, paper note, normally note means paper note. Notes they have used until up to 1951, but coins they used until up to 1963. The first coin series were introduced in 1963 by central bank. So then first coin series were introduced in 1963. This is the coin series. First cent, second, that means 2 cents, 5 cents, 10, 25 cents, 50 cents, and 1 rupee. So then they mint with aluminium 1 to 10. So then after they mix this with copper and nickel, copper, nickel, like that. So then this is the note. the central bank print. So 1951 to 2011. 110, like that way, they introduce various type of notes, and see even the first 100 rupee they issued in 1952, and it was used until up to 1979. But then what happened in 1981? We introduced a new currency. It is the value is 1,000. Then when it comes 2005, we also issue a new value of currency. It is 2,000. And 2011, we issue a new value of currency. Its value of 5,000. So then we are going to talk about the Dilaro. So then the Dilaro means we'll have idea. Dilaro has been active and present on the island for over 160 years. So then they are in Sri Lanka over 160 years. First producing postage stamp in 1857, and then from 1885 until present day, printing national currency for Sri Lanka. So then Dilaro, so then they are the one who printing national currency for Sri Lanka with their factories at Biagama. Sometimes they are authorized to print not even a Sri Lankan currency, some other foreign currency as well. So then we are going to see the Ceylon first postage stamp. Sri Lanka first postage stamp was issued in April 1, 1857, with the head of Queen Victoria of Britain and a 6 pence value. Presently, this stamp is valued at 7,500 British pounds. So since it is old because of its having its old value, so then the value has increased. But in general, in that time, its value is 6 pence. Stamps in Ceylon currency. So then that means earlier, the idea here, earlier we used stamp as a currency. In 1872, stamp priced in pence and shillings were replaced with the new series of stamps in Ceylonese currency. Stamp with the picture depicting the head of Queen Victoria of value cents 2, 4, 16, 24, 32, and it took until 96. So then the various value, that means various type of value stamps also printed at that time. Yes. Then the next attachment, I have attached some attachment which belongs to central bank, and this is for your understanding. So you can have a look and have an idea how the dispersion of money or history of money happened. So the initially barter system, is it visible to you? Is it shared with you? Can see?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So then, and seashells and fish hook and all these things. So then from there, initial note and coins, different denomination coins, and the plastic cards and all things. So just have a look for them. Now it's easy for you to understand. So then this is known your bankroll. So this is why we need to have a clear idea about the banknote, and this is help to identify the real note. So then, and if we print, then you can see the various ways. So then this will help to prevent the counterfeit note, and also that means this will try to enhance the confidence on public about the currency. So it is very much essential. So then only the trust on the currency will take place. So then this is also a very much important point. Yeah, so then this is also another attachment that I will say it. Yeah. So then just have a look so you can have a more idea. Don't buy hard anything, all these things for your information and to get more and more knowledge. This is a very good article, and that's why I thought to attach to you. So there are very essential points that we need to discuss. So I have highlighted those things. We'll take a little bit of time to understand these points. So then initially we know the barter system took place. And in here it was mentioned the establishment of CBSL. That's why I have at this point. Let's just see, people are ready to accept money only when they have the trust on money. So that means if there is a counterfeit money or fake money, so then people are not willing to accept. So this is also a very essential point. So then, therefore, printing counterfeit notes like the notes issued by central bank or the monetary authorities is totally prohibited. Yeah, another way of losing people's trust on money when country experiences significant increase of price of goods and services continuously when considered as a hyperinflation situation. Under such situation, a large amount of money is required to purchase goods and services to meet the payment obligation. So then simply we know that inflation is too much money chasing with few goods. So that means when we have more and more money and the availability of goods and services is little, so we try to buy these things, or in other we can say we try to make more demand since we need essential these requirements. So when we try to fight, when you make more and more demand, so ultimate result is increasing the price of goods and services. So this is we call inflation. So that's why we name that. That's why we clarify this as too much money chasing with few goods. So then this ultimately lead for inflation. So anyway, they're saying this article is saying another factor for losing public confidence is hyperinflation. So then it has given some example also. Hyperinflation situation was experienced by Germany in 1920 to 23, caused significant deterioration of public trust on German mark. So then it tend to lose the confidence on German mark. So then what happened? So they had to withdraw the currency and they had to introduce a new currency as of this situation. So we'll have a little look on that. Due to the hyperinflation situation, people trust in money was lost completely, and it led to collapse of bank as well the other business entities in Germany. People began to use barter system again. German authorities had to destroy its currency as there was no any value of it. Therefore, one of the main responsibility of central bank of a country is to maintain general price of goods and services at a stable level through conduct a prudent monetary policy. So then this is also another thing. Then the next thing, money printing authorities should print money only to match the, so then when you are printing money, so we cannot print money as we expected, so as we want. So there is a mechanism behind that on printing money. So we are going to see what is that and what are the requirements that we need to meet before we decide to print money.
Good morning. Our name is shit over there. Oh.
Nuan, can you please mute your mic yourself, please?
Ari. Oh, my lecture is out. Thanks, brother. Hello?
Nuan, can you please mute yourself? Okay, thank you. Fine. Yeah, so then we are going to discuss what are the requirements that we need to meet before we make decision on money printing. Money printing authorities should print money only to match the value of overall transaction in the economy. When economic and business activities grow in a country, there should be an increase of total money supply as well facility to such transfer. So then we need to see the overall value of transaction within the money. Then accordingly, we need to make money printing. So that can be do if our economy is growing. So then when we have a more and more output and when we have more and more transaction within the economy. So when it is on a growing level, it's okay to go for a money printing after having an idea on that figure. Therefore, after estimating expected economic growth of the country, in each year, the monetary authority is responsible to adding new money to the economy only to the extent to meet that amount of growing transaction. So that means that means we can add money only that expansion. Simply, if we talk about that, we need to identify how this growth will happen and how this that means GDP growth and all the other transaction growth happen. So accordingly, in that expansion, for that amount only we can add new money. If not, they're saying it is end up with inflation. Therefore, the main responsibility of the central bank is maintaining a country's aggregate stock of money in such a way that does not create inflationary pressure beyond the country's tolerable level. So then accordingly, we need to print the money and put into the Generally, the printing money means not printing money in here in economically. That means when you talk about on economics, we put into the money into the circulation. Anyway, there is printed money stored in a central bank. Money printing means putting the money into the circulation. Okay, so that's the simple idea on the money printing. The money printing, the meaning of money printing is issue new money to the economy, and in economic term, the new money issued by central bank is known as issuing reserve money or base money. So that is the wording that we use on economics. The reserve money or base money. Then the next point is going to have an idea how since these days we talk about debt repayment, settlement, and all these things. This point talk about the foreign debt settlement. So simply, before we are coming to this point, we'll have a little bit of idea. We'll take a simple example. Assume Sri Lanka has obtained we'll take simple figures to have idea. $10 value of debt security. So then we borrowed that. So now it is going to mature. So now we assume we need to pay that $10. So then since we was issued in the foreign currency in dollar denomination, it's $10. So then we need to pay this, or we need to settle this in the form of dollar. So then, okay, fine. Then who's responsible? CBSL. So then CBSL will settle this debt, $10 worth of debt security on behalf of Sri Lankan government. So $10. Okay. Then we'll take first one side, we'll take the central bank side. So then central bank is settling their $10 worth of debt. On behalf of who? On behalf of Sri Lankan government. So then, okay, now central bank already settled. What happened in the central bank end? So then their reserves has gone down by 10. Assume they had 100. Now they have 90. Why? They used $10 to settle this debt. Fine. So then how that government is settling to central bank? So then this amount, the $10 worth of debt, need to be settled by the government. So government need to find the today's currency. Assume for $1 we need to pay, for simple understanding, we'll pay 300. 300 into 10. So 3,000. So 3,000 worth of money, Sri Lankan rupees, we need to give to central bank. So then when the government is giving 3,000 rupees of 3,000 worth of Sri Lankan rupees, what will happen? 3,000 worth of rupees within the economy is going down. Why? Now it is with the central bank. Then when you talk about central bank, and now their situation, they lose $10, but for that they got 3,000 Sri Lankan rupees in different currency denomination. So then this is the normal scenario of foreign debt repayment. So we'll see how this article says. Meanwhile, the foreign debt repayment made by the central bank on behalf of the government. Therefore, at the time of making debt repayment by the central bank in foreign currency, the government should pay an equal value of rupees to the central bank. These repayments are usually made through the government account held in the commercial bank. When these rupees payment are made to central bank, it reduces the existing money stock in circulation in the country, or in other words, it reduces the level of reserve. So in other, we can say, reduce the money supply within the economy. Central bank settled the foreign debt on behalf of the government. It reduced the level of foreign exchange reserves maintained by the central bank. Is it clear this point? Anyone who is not clear this point? all okay. It doesn't matter if you couldn't get it, or if you can't understand.
It's clear now. The other question, since I'm a little new to this area, how would the central bank gets the foreign currency?
Gets mean.
Now, for them to pay the loan, they need to have the dollars.
Yeah. No, normally a central bank is maintaining reserves, no, foreign reserves. So they maintain, normally in central bank, maintain reserves around.
So from the money market, they buy using Sri Lankan rupees?
No, it depends. It depends. Sometime we can get. They can get from in a form of aid in the form of dollar, and the earlier then our discussion is going to the different quite different angle. Fine. In earlier we had an argument. So normally before coming to this crisis, we maintained around 7 billion US dollars. So then earlier, to answer your question, earlier most of the economists argue on this. I didn't know, I'm saying this, the argument. They're saying this is not existing of exact reserves. These reserves they have maintained with debt obligations. That means they have obtained some sort of debts, and then they maintain these reserves. So anyway, central bank has they can accumulate this in various form. Anyway, they are maintaining reserves. So for the moment also, various way they accumulate these reserves. You got the answers for your question?
Yes. Thanks.
Okay, fine. So then this is the next point. Anyway, we have a separate topic, and we are talking in detail on the open market operation. So in that we are going to discuss, but anyway, we have a bit of understanding on this point. Also, measure taken by central bank to maintain the market liquidity at the appropriate level. The amount of money circulation. When there is a liquidity surplus in commercial bank, central bank takes measures to absorb the excess liquidity while when there is liquid. That means simple idea is this. If there is more money within the circulation, central bank make a decision, not even open market operation. So we are going to discuss this point. And various measures they are using, some indirect measures, some direct measures, and using SRR, moratorium, various way they use to maintain this liquidity. The simple idea is, if there is more liquidity, and if what they do, they take the that means more money within the economy, they take the money, and once they take the money, the money supply within the economy going down, and when they pump the money within the economy, so then money supply is going up. So then accordingly, we know accordingly the interest rate subject to change. Yeah, in here they have mentioned only the open market operator, but there are some various activities also there, but those things we'll discuss a little later. The total number of money, then have discussed the money printing. So then we are going to see the next on money printing as well. So then why they may have mentioned better not to print this much of money. So this is their argument. So then the next point, Central Bank of Sri Lanka is process of changing its monetary policy framework towards inflationary targeting, which is mechanism to control inflation through charging central bank policy interest rate. So that means if there is a high inflation, they use the interest rate to maintain the inflation. That's the simple idea. Many countries have successfully in controlling inflation through an inflationary targeting policy framework. So that means they use interest rate as a mechanism. So that means we discussed this point also, that when there is more money within the economy means more money supply. So then we increase the interest rate. The simple example we can say, the recent, when there is a high inflation, central bank used to increase the interest rate. So this is the inflationary targeting. That is the idea. New Zealand, Canada, UK, Australia, Philippines, Indonesia, among these countries, while India also moved to inflation targeting in 2015. That means they use interest rate as a mechanism. That's the simple idea. Yes. Yeah, this is, I think it's shared with you. This is the recent money print in Sri Lanka. So then before we come into this point, we'll see the MMT theory. So this is MMT. MMT means, simply before we come to that, we'll have a little bit discussion. So that means this theory normally say that if any country is having fiat money, that means fiat money means a strong currency and it's backed by gold. So if any country, that means sovereignly strong country, that means if country is having a good economy, that strong economy, these countries can print money as they wish. Simply example, US, UK, Japan, Canada, these countries can print whatever the money that they need. Since these currencies like US dollars, pound, yen, is coming under the fiat currency category. So then these countries can print money as they wish. So then there's this theory said, it won't affect for the economy. It ultimately lead for grow the economy. But once we evaluate the history, so even US and all these economies, even a recession time, if they print they are coming under fiat currency category, a strong currency category, but they also end up with hyperinflation because of that means uncontrollable way of printing money. So this is a simple idea. So we'll discuss this a little bit and try to understand. Yeah, MMT theory is those things not necessary. A monetary sovereign country like US, UK, Japan, and Canada. So then any country is having that means this currency like US, we know US dollars, UK pound, Japan yen. So then if any, that means this country's currency will call fiat currency. So then when we talk about further, fiat money is government issued currency that is not backed by commodity such as gold. Fiat money given central bank greater control over the economy because they control how much money is printed. So then the government since the government is strong. Most modern paper currencies such as US dollars, euro, other global currencies are fiat currencies. One danger of the fiat currency is if that government will print too much of it, resulting in higher inflation. But their theory said it is okay, you can print whatever you need. So this is the simple idea. But once we evaluate, even if they engage in more and more money printing, even a fiat currency, so they also end up with hyperinflation. So before we come into the Sri Lankan situation, we'll have a look. Yeah, we'll come to this one. And to have that idea, we'll see. See, this is some information. Inflation in US is perfectly example of inflation led by oversupply of money during the Civil War in 1961. So then US printed $20 million notes in May that year and kept printing money throughout the year, which resulted in $105 million printed money by the end of 1861. So then they're saying this is ultimately lead to hyperinflation. As a result, the paper dollar depreciated immediately, price of commodity rose, and needless to say, it undermined the course of this. That means it was spread. The little idea is that. Then when you talk about Germany, this example also taken. Germany is another famous example for hyperinflation led by increasing money printing following World War I. Then another example, Hungary. However, the World War I in 1946, the inflation rate in Hungary exceed 200%, which equal to annual inflation rate of more than 300 quadrillion percentage. That means it was increased 200%. So when you talk about the Zimbabwe, when Zimbabwe was hit by hyperinflation in 2008, so then this is the hyperinflation situation. So then the simple idea what we need to pass here, even a strong currency, that means MMT theory said there isn't any effect on printing money as we expected, but we can see the even a US also experience hyperinflation, even printing more and more money. The why we need to discuss this point, that means earlier we had a discussion in Sri Lankan rupees also coming under the fiat currency category, and we having that idea, we used to print more and more money, and they said it's nothing will happen. They came across with some Keynesian argument, and then they said it's okay, nothing will happen when we put more and more money. So then economy trying to grow like that. But ultimate result was we can see we end up with hyperinflation. So these are the initial that means consequence for present hyperinflation. So yes, so then this is, it was mentioned, the print of rupees 208 billion in 28 June. and it was further, they have kept printing. Apart from that, 208 plus another 919, altogether 1,127 billion Sri Lankan rupees. And when it come to July, it was 313 billion. And then again print of rupees 130 billion in October 22, further 26 billion. Like that, they kept printing. So they said nothing will happen. It goes under the MMT theory. So ultimately what happened, we end up with hyperinflation. Sri Lanka is not a fiat currency, and and it's since we also not a strong economy. So even a country like US, UK, Japan, if they also went for this much of higher money printing, apart from that, considering how the economy is growing, if we came to that solution decisions, they also end up with hyperinflation. So it is obvious for a country like Sri Lanka going for hyperinflation. And another reason was at that time was they're saying going for this situation is used our foreign reserves to settle the debts. So that means we know we need to have around approximately 3 billion of US dollars to import essential commodities. If we didn't make that level, so then we are in a exchange rate crisis. So then ultimately what happened, all these circumstances lead to exchange rate crisis, and then we end up crisis. And ultimate result was hyperinflation. Why? All the imported commodities price was very high since exchange rate depreciated. So then this is a link between one to one. If we did one wrong decision, it will link to all the other factors as well. Yeah, fine. Any other question? Anyway, presently the central bank has stopped printing money. Yeah, until next year. Anyway, they are not printing money. It has gone down. Any other question? No. We want to see as we discussed, we want to see how much the transaction and circulation of existing worth of good. And we need to consider the capital account and the economic growth. So accordingly, we need to add new money. So if without having that, if we add new money, it will lead to inflation. Got the point? Any other question? If the economy is growing over and over, assume our GDP is growing 10%, and if we have a higher economic growth, so then our output is increasing. So then when the economy is growing, we need to have money within the economy. Then it will be a shortage. So why we have more and more demand for a good, and that means customers requesting. Economy has grown. So then to meet that anyway, we need to have money. So then in that situation, bringing new money is okay according to the argument, but it's the general scenario. Any other question? No need this, because we need to have a clear idea how the monetary expansion will happen. For exam, just we test. No need to figure wise, no need to memorize all these things. Just we need to, some conceptual question will come. No need to worry about the exam for the moment. We'll discuss before the exam where we need how need to prepare and how the paper will be constructed. And in that case, we are going to discuss how you need to answer the way I expect the answers, like that. So for the moment, what you need to do, it's also a good question. Don't need to buy it. Always try to make the concept. So if you take the concept, that's fine. And keep in your mind, and always remember some essential concepts and points. So these things not tested. So we are testing your conceptual idea. If you know the concept, that's fine. And that means accordingly you need to since you raised the question on the exam, the question will change. That means normally the question about to change paper to paper. So same question won't come each and every paper, but the inner concept, the idea is same. So if you know the concept, so when the question is changing or tolerating, you just need to arrange your answer accordingly, and you need to answer. It's a simple. You got the point? Yeah. So when the exams are around the corner, we are going to have even a revision, and we are going to discuss how the paper need to be constructed and how many questions are coming for one under one question, like that. All this we are about to discuss. No worry. And before that, you are going to sit for midterm exam. So the midterm exam also a pre-preparation for your final exam. So then if you sit for a midterm exam, you have idea how the final paper, that means format, you could be able to understand. So sorry, it will be further easy to go for the final exam.
So when is the midterm exams scheduled?
For the moment, actually, frankly, we haven't made any decision.
Okay.
Yeah. So then actually this request need to come from the administration as well. But anyway, after completing sixth topic, you are prepared. That means 40% of the entire course module, if you finish, so then we can arrange a midterm test. It's not a big deal.
Right. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
So I'm not sure if this is an issue just for me, but the LMS doesn't have any material uploaded for MFE09.
No, it's I didn't upload it since the problem with that means some I get that means some when this is regarding some student hasn't, not for you, some student hasn't registered with the course, and some didn't get the access. So then as of that reason, I thought to, and somehow on the processing, some couldn't pay the entire amount, some on the process of paying. So anyway, for various reason, they didn't get the access. So as of that reason, I thought anyway, for that means to make some convenience for all, I thought to circulate. Normally I am circulating all these materials through email. If anyone is not getting, please let me know. Yeah, I'll try to do that. So yeah, that was the reason. It's my problem.
Okay, so I have.
I also have the same problem, sir. So we'll drop you email to your email address. You have been
Yeah, sure.
using the same email address for a few years now. Same
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
That's the same one I'm using throughout on
Yeah.
10, 12
Because
years.
I was of earlier back, sir, so I will drop you an email to the same email address to get the slides and all. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And the next thing is when any repeat student get, they also not getting this LMS access. So then for make all convenience, I thought to circulate by email. If anyone who's not getting, please let me know. I tried. Yeah.
Sir, I haven't received any of the content. Can you please drop a message on the chat, your email address on the chat?
Sure.
And send you a
Sure.
email, please. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I send it to you, so you can make your request.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Any other question, please? Okay, fine. Yeah. Is there anyone need to any question, any gray areas before we wind in now? Okay, fine. I assume everything went smoothly. If we have any question, you can raise on next class session. Okay, then we'll wind up for the day. And thank you very much for being with me. Stay safe, and we'll meet on next class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.